welcome everybody. Would love to have questions. I'm going to try to have Nikki help out. I do some work with Nikki, and she's been great as her company is called The Assistants. And frankly, I think she's going to get really busy over the next little while. So I'm, as you know, have been trying to build mentoring and coaching and sponsorship within organizations. And I'm Helen Patterson, so I'm your host for today. I am going to do a formal presentation a little bit, but because it is interactive, you can always put a question in the chat. So just to go over a couple of the housekeeping things, there is a mute and video. If you're not comfortable being on video, that's fine, I understand. But we're also open-minded right now because, believe me, I've been in my pajamas, I've been with messy hair, and it's all good. This is a great opportunity for us to all be, you know, in our gifts of imperfection, Brene Brown book. So I want to just tell you a little bit about myself, then I'll get the slide presentation going. I've been an employment lawyer. I am a human rights advocate. I have been a workplace expert for over 20 years with that employment law and HR background, working for brands like CIBC, the Northern Group, Foot Locker, ADP Canada. I've had quite a career. I've been in and out many things, so there's always room to continue. Mentoring is a big passion of mine. And so I also mentor a lot of young entrepreneurs and HR leaders. So I am going to put up the slideshow, and forgive me, this is like not my cup of tea expertise, which is why in the future I'm going to have Nikki help me. So bear with me, but if you have questions or some technical issues, Nikki and I will try to address those as well. So I'm going to try to share my screen and put up the presentation. And really this is meant to be support for everyone, and in any way I can, I'm happy to be here to help out. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Here's my, I'll put that on play. Okay, so I can only see, I don't know if I'll see everybody. I don't have two screens going on, so bear with me. But you know, there's been so much going on right now. And first of all, I hope all of you are really healthy, and your families and friends and yourselves are taking care of yourself and safe. There is, you know, this is one of the most challenging times we're going to face. And I think it's really important for small business leaders, whether you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, or an HR leader or a small business leader, more than ever right now, we need to support each other in any way we can. This is such an unusual time. So when I was thinking about what to start with, I thought leadership is important. There's a lot going on layoffs, people losing their jobs. And for me, the reason I started Life Works Well was because I felt that, you know, there is a huge integration needed with work life, and also that human resources is really not about just technical support, it is about human relations. So I'm going to touch on each of these topics, and we can get into whatever you'd like, and we will have time for Q&A at the end. You know, I'm going to have several of these so we can talk as well about future topics. So now, of course, oh, there we go. So what are we going to talk about today? I want to talk about leading through adversity. And even though I primarily support small businesses and business leaders, in my view, leadership is also, anybody can be a leader. So individuals can be leaders as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about layoffs and reorg. And if you have personal questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. Believe me, my phone has been ringing off the hook for people wanting to, you know, bounce things off me as well as an individual, but primarily I support organizations. And then let's talk a little bit about how in this tough time, how we can, you know, try to stay grounded, lead with love, bring positivity and kindness in our days when sometimes it's really tough. Like today, I wanted to, my family was really getting on my nerves because there's one playing basketball. I'm trying to, you know, hope the tech doesn't, you know, fall out. But we have to have that patience too. And then we'll chat some more. So leading through adversity. Oh, how do you be a leader in a time like this when it's so unexpected? I mean, we've had 9/11. We've had a recession in 2008, 2009, which is the first time I started my business. So I pick really crazy times to start my business, but you just persevere. And so when you're looking at leadership, it's in the lens of, you know, what has the past been, what's the present, and what's the future. You know, obviously up until about a month ago, our past was probably looking pretty stable and predictable. Both as individuals and as leaders, whether we're a solopreneur or in a role that we support others. Present, chaos and disruption. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to describe it. I didn't want to use the unprecedented word, but I will say that everybody is, but really this is so unusual. Just bear with me. There might be someone trying. Do we have 6 people on, Nikki? So it looks like someone else might be trying to get in.
No,
yeah, hang on. Oh, there is. Just bear with me, everybody. This is where I'm trying to, oops. This is where the tech is not my strong suit. So bear with me because I'm trying to admit someone but I'm trying, it's ruining my, I have to stop share. I'm having trouble with my screen. This is the humanity part. Okay, how am I going to do that?
Stop there.
I'm trying to get my cursor up there, but it's not doing it. This is when I need my son. He's always, Mom, stop share. There we go. Oh, hang on. Now I feel like I lost everybody. Admit. Okay. This is not working. What do you see, Nikki?
Myself, Helen, Sonia, Kim, and Ethel.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I tried to admit her, but oh, I feel bad. That's one of my mentees that was trying to get in. Okay, so let me go back. I'll have to see about that after. This is why we learn through these things. Okay, so let me go back to play. Sorry about that. Yeah, so here's the thing. We have to learn how to, Nikki, I'm wondering if I share that with you, I'm going to lose my slides, aren't I? Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, I will send her the recording after. So yeah, getting back to chaos and disruption, I just feel not only are we having to deal with what's happening outside, it's our internal, you know, having everyone working from home, the new norm, school canceled. There's just a lot that we've all had to experience. And so how do we support each other as leaders? And one of the things that's really important is, you know, thinking through how you can manage right now and not so much the future. And if you do any meditation or anything like that, that's really helpful to kind of, okay, you can only deal with what you can control right now. And what are those decisions and how do you do that in a calm manner without too much stress and anxiety? And it's not easy. It's not easy all the time. When we think about how do you want to lead, I think it's important to look at you're either in you could lead in as based on a crisis or catastrophe, or you could lead based on resiliency. And I know that that's probably a bit of a catchword, but here's the thing. Many of us have been pushing to bring that in and bring that humanity back into the workforce and the resiliency. And now we understand why people have been pushing for leaders to look at emotional intelligence and how to be heart-centered. So really the choice right now as a leader is, do you want to be in crisis mode and freaking out, or do you want to try to bring in a little bit of resiliency and not just react? So let me give you an example about that. I know several businesses that immediately laid off people and just, panicked, and that was their first reaction, as opposed to just saying, okay, what are the decision points? What is the information I need right now? And then I can make informed decisions. We're already seeing people that have been laid off that are now potentially going to be able to go back to work because of the wage subsidy. The difference here, crises versus leading is where you're guiding people and you're helping them. And this is where right now, in a time of chaos, it's really important for everyone to step up and be a leader and guide. And so it'll be really interesting as we get through this to see what organizations have been able to manage through this. I'm sure it's a matter of time before we hear all that other news about who did what. One thing I wanted to let people know is that Harvard Business Review and many, many other organizations, if you need resources or support, are providing free resources. So Harvard Business Review has a whole COVID-19 section, and you can sign up for that, and they have great coverage to help you as leaders, whether you're the top on the C-suite making all those decisions, or whether you are at a different level, or what I still think that everyone can lead. It's important to learn things and have resources that are informative and not get all hyped and into the hype from social. And so what does this mean for small businesses? Particularly those that I see that are on the call. Many people are from different areas, and smaller businesses are the ones that often are hit a little bit more because they don't have the infrastructure. They may not have an HR person to support them, and so they're trying to scramble. And it's, I've been on the phone with several people right now. It's like, okay, what do I do? How do I reallocate resources when I'm having to shut down? Like one of my mentees, one of the small businesses, there's several that I support, have had to shut down their brick and mortar place. So really, sorry, I'm trying to get something. This is really funny. I know that I've been on a few of these calls, so I'm not the only one that has some challenges sometimes, but I was doing some research and, looking back at, again, 2008, 2009, when there was a recession, and then the other catastrophic time that we had, which was 9/11. And I came across this, and this organization was really able to, Sadler O'Neill was really able to manage through because they really focused on people issues versus the business.
I'm sorry, we can't see your screen. So
Oh.
you need to share again.
Okay. Oh. Okay, and now I can't, let me just see. Oh, what happened there? I've lost the share screen. Okay. Sorry, everybody. And I better keep going. Let me just finish this slide and then we will take a break just to see if there's any questions. Can you see that? Maybe I'll just stay in that mode if that's okay for people. Basically, taking care of people first is going to take care of the business. And I loved this because I think that's really important. So I'm going to take a quick pause because I have been focused more on the business side, and I am going to shift, but I thought I'd see if there's any questions to date. I'm going to also see if I can let this other person in, but she may have gone. Yeah, okay. Any questions right now, or I'm just going to keep going for, a few more minutes? I'm just going to send a note to the person that was trying to get in as well. Technical difficulties, my favorite expression these days. Again, I'll go over a couple of these things quicker because not everybody here is an entrepreneur or solopreneur with smaller business, but it's really important if you want to try to keep going and keep the lights on, that you look at ways to stimulate your cash flow. And that is looking at new sales potentially. So if you can offer things that have a guarantee, if people aren't satisfied, they get a refund. Low risk items, it depends on if you have a product or if you're in service. But even if you're on the phone, on the call here and you're an HR leader, it's also your role, and this is an important skill, to educate your managers and try to get them into innovative and creative thinking. So brainstorming is really good. New pricing models and offers, even myself as an entrepreneur and growing my business, again, I didn't pick the best time to start that out again. It's important that you look at what else can I do right now? Well, how can I offer things differently? I know some of my colleagues with larger businesses, or even if they have like 30 to 50 people or larger, they're still looking at potentially discounted offers and things like that. The other thing is just innovation, accelerating, like brainstorming, what can you do? And I'll go into a couple of examples of that later, some of my clients. One of them actually I was really happy to hear with the manufacturing companies. You know, a lot of them, they supplied, one of them in particular supplied office supplies. And here we go. I'm going to try to get this person in. I'm sorry. No, it's not letting me. Oh, I feel bad. Sorry about that. I've been trying to let this other person into the room, but for some reason it's not letting me do that.
She's in.
What's that?
She's in, Karina.
Oh, she's in? Yeah. Well, how come I don't see that? Maybe I'm having a delay.
I just got in. Hi.
Oh, hi. I'm so glad. I'm so sorry. It's still showing that you haven't been admitted. But anyway.
Okay, it might be because I tried a bunch of times, but that's fine. No worries. Sorry to
No, thank you. I'm just going through some. This is obviously we've had these chats anyway, but some people have, we're looking at business. How can you stimulate your cash flow? And so great you're on, because I was just using the example of where you have to close down, and Karina, who just joined, has a Muay Thai gym where they have classes, and and that's their primary business. They're in the gym, they're doing training and they're doing classes, and it's so amazing. I was going to try it one of these days. I'll have to. So she's had to pivot and shift, and now is starting some online offers. So I'm just going to ask you to mute for a few more minutes, and then we'll get you on, because I would love you to share your story about how you've had to pivot. And then my thing, I've been trying to advocate for not cutting costs just by cutting people. Because it's really, that is what, one of the things that businesses would go to right away. And I've had that. I had a friend, we were on our vacation together. The day she got back, she was laid off. And it was just like complete shutdown. And obviously it will be that way for some organizations, but how do we do that with humanity? And then keep trying to get customers. So having to be creative. I love seeing Karina's little baby. When we met, she was just starting her business. And then right within the first year, she decided to have a baby, which wasn't good timing. And now this, so they're just trying to have to shift. And that's the new reality. It's like, how can we support everybody? Again, as a leader, so getting into layoffs, this is tough, and reorganization. So, obviously larger companies like Sunwing, the airlines, they've had to just cut people. And, you know, you hear about tens of thousands of people losing their jobs. And the reason I put Sunwing on here is because I know the HR leader there, and interesting, I had reached out to her just to check in with her to see how she's doing. And we had been trying to have coffee and things were busy, and, you know, trying to just reconnect because this was a newer job for her. And I just happened to catch her on a day where she said, oh my goodness, I just had like one of the most probably difficult things I've ever had to do in my career, because they were laying off. And, you know, you read about this in the papers. So there is everybody in this together, really. And so an airline is a good example because they had to shut down, they had to stop. And so what do you do with all those people that, you know, no longer can fly, and the health and safety issues? There's so much, but it's trickled down everywhere. So another example I mentioned, like the fashion and clothing boutiques. I have a colleague who is a store owner. I also had people working, and they, you know, they weren't getting their imports from Italy. They couldn't be selling, they couldn't be meeting with boutique owners, and just shut down completely. So this has been so widespread. And so how do we get through this, and how do we continue to try to evolve? It's unimaginable, right? And I just think it's really important to remember to go back again, is that everybody is impacted somehow, not only from the health perspective of being potentially impacted with COVID-19, and then the business and the people and the layoffs. I have some stats for you later about the percentages already. So going back to business and innovation, one of the 5 things that you could potentially look at, these 3 companies are companies that I have worked with. And for example, Barbican is the manufacturing company, and they were supplying to hotels and buildings, lighting, office furniture, fixtures. And, you know, obviously that stopped, and now there's no one in workplaces. So it's just been crushing for them. And they had just built their product lines. I had sent them a link to the government program that, where they're looking for people to if you have manufacturing facilities, can you help the government either with you know, making masks or some kind of supplies. And so they've actually been able to shift a bit and create those, you know, the plexiglass, plastic, to protect the stores and other workers, and even in some of the hospitals, to keep screened, like like a room. And because they used to create the little cubicles and offices, they've been able to shift that to these hospital spaces. So, you know, there is some way to kind of keep the lights on, keep some costs and revenue coming up. Real Food for Real Kids, they supplied to over 20,000 children in daycares a day. And those daycares shut down, all these places. So it's like, oh my gosh, the impact is huge. That's a local company. So if you're in Etobicoke or Toronto area, they're now doing online, and they're doing deliveries. So for the ones that maybe had tried them in their schools, a way to shift. The drivers can drop them off, so it's online, it's frozen, it's like ready meals. So there is ways to kind of just take a pause and say, okay, how do we deal with this? The Canadian Media Producers Association, which is one of my main clients, their industry was hugely hit because they're a nonprofit, but they support the movie filming industry, which is just shut down. That might be 12 months to 18 months. So, but they're doing webinars, they're doing support, they're putting together strategies. Some of the animation can still be done at home. So it's how do you shift through it? And I guess for me, one of the primary things about supporting businesses and HR leaders and others that need help, I think it's still really important to go back to that human first element in whatever decisions you're making within your organizations. And, you know, we've all been impacted, families, homeschool, work from home. This is, you know, how are we navigating it? And I think I've only been on, this is my 3rd week And I'm already getting a little antsy. And so it's like, how do I stay grounded and have the self-care? And like, I had to come back into this office, which I usually use, but my hubby's home and he needs it 24/7. He's on the phone constantly, and he's going to be on a call and probably want me to move. So I will have to take a pause at that point. But it's just, let's just go with the flow. You know, this, some stats here. I mean, in the US, it's already 6.6 million people that have been laid off at the end of March. And 1 million in Canada have applied for EI. And this Maclean's article I just read was, it's 44% of households that have had some impact. I mean, why am I saying all this? It's sounding, I'm kind of depressing myself here, but this is the point, is that even though there is this toughness, there are so many people coming through with positive stories and trying to rejig, pivot, and create a new norm. A bunch of resources that I'll send out. So anyone signed up, I will send out a bunch of lists, because I think the one thing that's been difficult is like there's things all over the place, and there are a bunch of good law firms and HR firms and big companies, but often they have like everything. And really, we're here in Ontario, we're local. I just try to focus on the Ontario and Toronto and local supports. So I will take care of sending that out. If you need some ideas on work share or temporary layoffs, all of that, I'm happy to hop on a call and do that with you. So I will send these out. I won't spend too much time on them, but I will ask questions at the end if you like. The work share program is a great option right now, without having to let go people, and getting some support back from the government to keep people working. The same thing with the Canada wage subsidy, which is, there's a couple, but the one primary one people are looking at is 75% of wages supported, as long as you had some revenue loss. And they just announced recently that they're reducing that to 15% versus the 30% threshold year over year from last year. And I can go into a little bit about that depending on people's needs. And then for those freelancers and solopreneurs, and those that, you know, have worked from home in the gig economy, and even students, Canadian emergency, the CERB benefit is something that's really available right now. And the last thing I want to touch, a couple things, but real quick, is that we can't forget about other things like accommodation, and that there are people with, you know, immune deficiencies and other things that normally, you know, working from home, you know, it's even more critical in providing those supports so that they're not going in and being exposed when they have a compromised system. And so I think a lot of people forget about that, is like, you know, there are some individual needs and they're usually private. So let's not forget about those. Return to work protocols when you do go back to work. I know other people that have been on that are actually still working. They're still going in, and what are the, you know, making sure that that company is cleaning well and there's safeguards and protocols around that. And then these issues of working from home and changes. I'm going to be having to deal with some workload issues and reassignments with some of my clients. And the question always comes up, is it a constructive dismissal? Well, though this is a little different of a time, so I think that some of those legal rules, I think there has to be some flexibility that, you know, does someone really want to sue a company when they're in that, or would they rather just try to make it through, even if they're getting 20% reduction on salary or a change in their position? So finally, what's love got to do with it? You know that song? I love that. We need a little bit of humor here and there. This is really hard for me because I'm usually the funny person, but you know, it's really time to lead from the heart. And to me, everyone's a leader, not just the senior executives. Everyone can lead and make decisions based on a heart center, and just, you know, try to be positive in this difficult time. I mean, my sister's just found out her father-in-law passed last night, and, they're going to be able to have a small group to honor him. But that is these are the types of things that are coming up that are really, how do you support people? They still will need bereavement leave. There's all kinds of other things that we need to do. And if you haven't read Brene Brown, I really suggest her book, Dare to Lead. Basically, this is what she's been teaching for a long time, and I think people are finally starting to catch up. And unfortunately, it's a time where the world is, going to be catching up and hopefully coming together. But really trying to move forward from values perspective. So that's it. I was rambling a lot. It took a lot longer than I thought, but I'm going to open it up for questions on anything. And if we can't get into everything, I originally was only going to do half an hour, and then Nikki said that was probably going to be too short. And I will try to have additional series where we maybe just dig into one topic a little bit more. Really getting people on here. My goal is to have mentorship amongst a number of people that I'm already, connected to, and to try to get support groups and exchange ideas and gather information that way. So I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. I'm going to stop my share. I'll have to unmute. It's nice to see the faces. We might have lost a couple people. Karina. Oh,
Hi.
Hi. Did you have anything to ask? I know you kind of came in late. I'm sorry about
sorry about that. It's funny. It just happened right before kind of this call. My husband he's over here. My husband was on a call with one of our trainers, and so we run a fitness gym and martial arts gym. So we've tried to put everything online now, online classes. And we see that a lot of our trainers, they're not comfortable teaching online. They say they feel uncomfortable. It's awkward, whatever. And then so one of our guys who said he was down, and now we made the whole schedule. It's been published and everything. He just told us, oh, actually, never mind. I don't really feel comfortable doing it anymore. And we're like, oh my gosh. Oh, well, yeah, he was he's just been kind of weird, or just kind of his energy wasn't very good. And then so Benson asked him hey, what's up, whatever. And then he says, oh, I'm just I don't know. I think he's kind of getting into his own head too. And he has, I don't know. So just how to keep people motivated in these changing circumstances.
Oh, that's a great question. And definitely that is an experience in so many organizations, and so tough for you, especially where it's not an office environment, or it's where, I'm able to still be on my meetings and still do some work that's, office work. So for you in particular, I think that's the empathy piece, and that's the piece about trying to make sure that everybody is dealing with self-care. Because if you're not strong enough, as leaders too, and I mean, you're juggling 2 little kids at home, and it's not easy. You're trying to run a business that is no longer a business you can go into. So really, I think it's about trying to, my husband's just coming in. We've got to switch rooms, so I hope this is going to work. I'm going to walk around. Hey, this is definitely a new way of working. New way of working in action, right? So I'm just going to move so he can have his space back. And I think, so one of the things I'd ask you, Karina, is what are you and Benson doing to try to, as the leaders, are you communicating well, often with the teams through Zoom calls or anything like that?
With our trainers?
Yeah.
Few times. Yeah, and Benson speaks with them often. Yeah, a lot of them have said that they're not comfortable. And then, sorry, you were saying something about empathy, so that we should practice empathy towards him, just kind of see where he's at, And then it like, so right now it's like we're kind of strapped. We're down to like 2 trainers plus Benson, but it's so hard for him to teach because we have the kids. So then yes, we're just trying to like, we need this guys, but I don't know how to like, but yes, we want to be empathetic towards the situation, but like how can we like motivate him so that he'll
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is just having a real authentic chat, a heart to heart, and just say, you know, we're all trying to navigate this together. And, you know, we're trying to think of ways that we can creatively continue so that, hey, when it comes back, that we can open up. And we're pushing towards that you're there, you're still top of mind, your clients have been seeing you online. How can we support you get comfortable? Like maybe he could try a couple classes with just you guys or a few of his friends. You know, I think, hey, I'm going to tell you something. Me getting on this today is a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Well,
and which is funny because I know, but that's it. It's so, how do you got to just try it. The other thing is, like, there's a lot of people out there that are doing the free yoga, you know, maybe it's even exploring others, but just say we've liked our relationship to date and that we want to continue to build it. What can we do to support you? Talk it through, brainstorm, get on a Zoom call. So it's face to face. I think it's helpful to have that. I mean, I think this is the second best to being in person, right? Because you know, it's nice to have that connection. If you want to, talk a little bit more about that, I'm happy to help you with that. Does anyone else want to give any other suggestions? I know we did have another HR person. I know she said she had to probably go to a meeting. So, Ethel, are you there? I know you're on mute. I know that you're a small business owner as well, and you've been trying to build business. Do you have anything you'd like to add as far as ideas for Karina or for anyone based on what we were just talking about? It's like this, I really think it's so important to just get into the human element and get to where they're at. And even as a business owner, and I'll let Ethel see if she wants to jump in. It's like, you have to meet people where they are at. And try to understand that before you can give them some good advice, I think. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Even just saying like, how can we support you to be more, and those ideas like doing a smaller class to, no, that's good.
Yeah. Hi, Ethel. So nice to see you. Do you have anything? Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize for the lighting, and maybe my cat will make an appearance. I think he's disappeared. So for me, because I was just starting my business, and obviously this has been a huge setback for many of us. But a few things that I've changed is I was applying for jobs very selectively, and I did about a week of soul searching, and I thought, maybe be less selective, simply because the job market is going to be very competitive over the next 6 months. So maybe it's another way of considering attending events like this, for example, or doing some remote networking. The other thing that's kind of interesting is when I first started, I was heavily mentored into, don't do RFPs, don't submit RFPs. They take so much time and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, now I have nothing but time. So I downloaded some requests for proposals, and even just to be like because I'm a consultant, and just to be on someone's list. So if I can always be taken on as an as needed basis. So that's one thing that's kind of helping me, because I can structure my days in fulfilling those responses. As a former healthcare professional, I've actually applied to be a volunteer. The country has a call for volunteers, and so I applied for that simply because I feel everybody's putting themselves on the line. It's almost like being in a war with an invisible enemy, and I think I want to help, and it's so frustrating that the best way to help is to stay home, and it's like, well, maybe I could do a little more, or I don't know. And I also added my name to the province of Ontario. They have a hiring portal. So if you have any type of healthcare background, I feel like I can help from a public health perspective, do the grunt work in terms of making phone calls and trying to trace the movement of this horrible disease. So I think personally, because it's a illness and it's a disease and a virus, I think I feel more emotionally tied to the solution. You know, I feel like I could contribute more. And maybe even if I was working for a government entity or a medical device company or something like that, I'd feel probably a lot better. So I think for me, it's been closely tied to my goals for my company, my personal goals and professional goals for myself, and also who I am, my own makeup as a person. You know, it's I think if you've got any background in wellness, physical, mental, spiritual, I think it's a call to action. You know, we can say that we're all in this together, but I would add we all have something to contribute to make things better for each other as well.
Yeah, no, and that's so true, and that's amazing that you say that. And sometimes it's just for me, as you know, I like to open up connections. And when I think about it, when I was talking to Karina earlier, because with their fitness and their Muay Thai, there's a lot of spiritual and mind stuff. And so to think about maybe expanding on that with some online resources or others. But you know, when you're a small company, you have to have the resources to do all that. So it's maybe just taking a pause and thinking, okay, what else can we do to hopefully keep going? And I mean, all the business, other supports, I can send you all that. I think people are well aware of those. But to me, what's going to be really important is those conversations and emotional, and how can you help? And it's funny you say that about the volunteer, because one of my friends is doing the same. She's going to retire from the board out in Halton region. She's a clinical psychologist. And I said, well, you can do other stuff. And she said, well, I'm not trained to. And I'm like, you could take some of yours and shift. But she's thinking about volunteering. So it's good. So yeah, I mean, however we can connect and continue. And what I would love is I'll share this slide deck. I can share more resources. I'm trying to get more on my website. I'm going to try to host these and at different times. So, you know, whoever joins, and it's just creating community, especially for people that I know that don't have those larger organizations where they're on with teams all the time, right? They're sort of out there in small businesses. They're now at home and they don't have that, you know, work connection even anymore or that. So Nikki, I know we went way over this. I'm sorry, I took up too much time just spieling at the beginning, but I feel like I need to, you know, for me too, I need to get out and do the things that I love and support people the way I want to. And this is my way. And so Nikki and I just came across to each other recently, and she's been a great support, and we're going to continue to work together as well. But she has her own company. So I don't know if you want to add any final thoughts before we wrap up, Nikki, to the group, or anything you'd like to add to our conversation.
To Karina, I would say that one of the questions you want to ask him in asking how we can support him is, you know, some specifics. And because he might dance around, because I've found this in my own circle with my contractors, he might dance around the problem. So just try to get him to tell you specifics, whether it's space-wise, whether it's family accommodation, and so you can really address those, because the last thing you want to do is waste time trying to put out a fire that's not there, it's in the wrong place. So really let him know that you will support, like no reason is out of the park, you know, like just honesty is the best thing that he can give to you right now, because you really want to address the real problem. and don't be shy, right? So if you have that sort of like, come to me as you are and we'll support you and not judge, then I think that would be helpful. And I had to learn that with my own people. And Ethel, I'm not sure what your business is. You said you just started your consultancy business. What is it?
Yeah, I do advisory services and professional services on behalf of either technology companies or healthcare IT companies.
Okay. So I think what the best piece of advice that I can share from my experience and working with different clients is finding out what their immediate problems are and creating a solution to meet that need. So I think what people are struggling with is that they're trying to carry on their packages that they've had, or they envisioned because you just started. So you probably had, some packages in mind and what you could do, but this is crisis mode, and money isn't as available, and people want simple solutions now. So maybe if you can think, okay, my ideal client, what are their pressing needs, and if you can perhaps discount your service just to get in, just to support them and provide your services, and then it will set your path for down the road. But one thing that might be helpful is to rejig what you thought you would be providing to a temporary, more like a simpler, discounted solution to meet your immediate needs, if that's helpful at all.
Yeah, thank you very much. I find a lot of people are distracted, and it's really, if you're waiting maybe within a week to get a response, now you're waiting closer to 2 weeks, or you're having that much extra effort to get people's attention. So yeah, I mean, I think I have this vision that everything kind of comes colliding all at the same time. So it's been a few weeks of just nothing happening, and all of a sudden the tsunami. So it's usually how my life works. So we'll see how the next.
The rest.
Yeah. And you know what? And anytime you want to, chat about something, reach out. We can hop on a Zoom. I know lots of women that I'm working with that are entrepreneurs that are, having to shift and just kind of, because the thing is to keep going so that you're relevant, you're in the back of your mind, like, hey, you weren't on top of them 24/7 saying, call me, but you're doing something to give to them until they are, and they're going to remember that. I do want to wrap up, I think, because I've spent a lot of your time, but this, to me, I mean, I'm always willing to try new things and try out new platforms and formats. So what I will do is, well, first of all, I'm thankful and want to, appreciate all of you hopping on today, because I know you're trying to manage so many things. But thank you for that. And, I'm here to chat anytime. I am going to continue some of these series, and I'm going to try to narrow the topic and the format. I have to experiment. So give me some feedback. Send me a note. Let's chat again. And as I said, I'll send out the recording and some resources that I think are helpful. Everybody has different needs, but whatever I can do. So it was really nice to see everybody, and I really appreciate it. And we'll chat again soon, I hope. All right, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much. And I got to figure out how to end this thing. Stop recording. There you go. Take care.
Bye.